I want to talk to you today of how does a narcissist feel when you walk away. Now, a lot of times you have it where you are leaving a narcissist, or you might have it the flip of where he's leaving you. But today we're going to specifically talk about like how does he feel when you walk away. Now, some of you might be like, why do I even care how he feels? Well, I want to break it down just so you see a different perspective from the narcissist viewpoint of how they feel, see, and process, and how sometimes they flip it on you. Okay, so I want you to understand a lot of times you're going to have this when you walk away from a narcissist, everything changes, everything shifts. So let's break down like what this actually looks like. So you're here in the relationship and you decide, hey, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to walk away. I'm going to leave this person. Okay, immediately there's this piece of the narcissist being surprised. Right? Like there's this piece of like, I never thought, I never realized. So there's the first aspect of like, hey, he's surprised. Now, the reason why he's surprised is because he didn't believe that you actually had the guts to do it. Like he didn't believe that you were actually going to do it. You've said it, you've talked about it, you've threatened it, but he didn't even believe it. He thought that you were naive. He thought that you were going to stay. He thought that it didn't really matter because you were going to do what you're going to do and you weren't going to leave because you were stuck with him. See, the narcissist views you as being trauma bonded, stuck to him. Might not think of it in those words, but the first reaction oftentimes is like surprise. It's like utter shock of like, how could you do this to me? Like, I can't believe like you're actually leaving me. It's typically like the first piece. There's this piece of like shock that happens to the narcissist, like a disbelief that you're even thinking or having the audacity to actually leave him. Then he moves into a stage oftentimes where it's maybe like begging. Okay, like begging you to stay, like please, like I'll do anything. This is where you see the Hoovers. This is where you see him try to come back to you, and you're like, nope, like I don't really want to do this. Like I don't want to be a part of this relationship, but he's still trying to get you to stay. And so even though you've moved on and you're in a different place, he's like, hey, I still want to be with you. And he's like making all these demands. He's making all these ideas. He's saying like, please, 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 I need you. This is like my time of need. Like, I need you in my life. So please stay. I can't do this without you. Like this healing piece, like I'm working on myself, but like, don't give up on me now. And you'll find all these lies, all these things that the toxic person will come up with just to try to keep you in the relationship. Now, it goes from being surprised and it goes from begging, and then it'll actually start to switch at this point. Now, sometimes there's a little piece that happens in between. Okay, sometimes you're going to have this, and we'll just write it out here that way you can see it as well. But you're also going to have like love bombing that oftentimes is like in conjunction with the begging. Like, let me get you to stay. Like, I really need you to stay. And sometimes it'll be like, let me love bomb you at the same time. Okay, so that's a piece of it. So you've got surprise, you've got the shock of like, how could you do this? I can't believe this. You've got begging, you've got love bombing to be able to stay. And then all of a sudden we get to like the switch. Then the switch typically is happening where it's turning in their mind of like nothing I'm doing is working. Like all the lies that I'm communicating to you, all the manipulation of the things that I'm trying to do, trying to say, like there's all of a sudden there's realization of like, hey, this doesn't work. This doesn't work. Like, I'm kind of screwed because all the stuff that I've been doing to manipulate that other person back to me no longer is actually working. So then it starts to flip. Now, this point, it starts to switch into anger or frustration. Then you see the flip happen of like really nice one day, really like positive of like, we're going to do this, we're going to get through it. And all of a sudden it just flips on you. Typically it's because he's already found someone else. He's already like been like, okay, let me cut my losses. Let me move on. But this anger piece oftentimes is triggered by this aspect of rejection. This is where it gets a little interesting. You might know that narcissism is shame avoidance. So they're running away from shame as much as they can. Borderline, kind of like sister to narcissistic personality disorder, typically has underneath like running away from abandonment. Like can't be abandoned. Like I'm worried about that. Need to do whatever I can to hold on to this person. Both of them have similar triggers in the form of rejection. Now, this is what gets interesting is because the narcissist might treat you like complete shit and make you feel like the worst person ever, and you leave, and somehow when you leave, it's like, oh, this person's rejecting me. Narcissists can even do this, them walking away from you. They walk away from you and they're like, oh, yeah, they rejected me. That's why I had to walk away. Like they will twist the story as much as possible. But there's anger piece here. All of a sudden, he's nice, loving. He's like, we're going to make this work. And then it's not working. You see, the narcissist is only nice to a certain degree. He's nice to get something from you. And so he's nice, he's love bombing to get you back, to get you interacting with him, and it doesn't fix the problem, it doesn't change it, and you don't actually come back to the toxic person, and he's like, well, screw this. If you're going to act like this, then I'm pissed off at you. And so that's where you see the anger come in. You've rejected him. This is the anger piece of I'm frustrated because I'm not getting what I want, and typically not getting what I want fast enough. Then you see the piece come in that typically is the victim. Okay, then he's starting to slide into victim mode. She left me. Can't believe she left me. Like, I did everything right. I made all this stuff. I worked so hard. I told her I was changing and I was growing. Like, she didn't even give me a chance, and she left me. All of a sudden, victim mode is like the next thing that comes out. The narcissist has to play the victim. Why? Because he has to be the hero in his own story. Like, he has to be the hero of saying, like, oh, I didn't do anything wrong. She's the one that left me. Yeah, I cheated on her, but she left me. She rejected me. How many of you resonate with this? Where you're like, oh, yeah, mine was a victim. Like, put victim down in the comments, because other people need to see, like, the narcissist will play the victim over and over and over again to try to look and appear a certain way to you and to the rest of society. Now, oftentimes this leaves him in a place that he can't get out of. Leaves him in a place of, if he's playing the victim and you're not showing up as a bad person or evil or abusive, what has to happen? Well, typically then we have to move into smear campaign. And so smear campaign, the narcissist is, how do I make sure that everyone around knows that you're the bad guy? Not me, but knows that you're the bad guy. So narcissist is like, let me go ahead and start amplifying my voice, amplify my victimhood to say, hey, she did this to me. I can't believe she did this to me. Like even going to other people, we've seen this here. Pause. Like, side note, we've seen narcissists go to other people, be like, I'm just really worried about her. Like, I feel like she's struggling mentally because of what she did to me. It's like subtle crap that actually happens. Okay, but narcissists will play a smear campaign. Okay, talking about you, degrading you, devaluing you, but this time it's behind your back to other people. Now, most people are surprised when narcissists do this. They're like, oh, I didn't think he would do this to me. No, narcissists do this all the time. Typically, they're already doing it before the demise of the relationship. They're typically slowly inserting things into other relationships, other interactions with people, other friends and family members, so that they look like the victim, so they feel like the victim, and so they're portrayed as a person who's getting abused, taken advantage of, you put in the label, whatever it might be. And so narcissists will go through these stages. They will go through this list here that we've written out. They'll go from this piece of like shock, like, I can't believe it. You rejected me. Go to a place of like begging and love bombing of like, please come back, please stay, please, I'll change. Future faking, all this kind of stuff goes in here. Then it flips. All of a sudden the script flips because you didn't respond fast enough. You didn't come back to him fast enough. You didn't realize he was changing fast enough. Quote unquote changing, okay? Because nothing was actually changing. And then he has to go to victim. I'm the victim. Let me also smear your name at the same time. Okay? Do you see how this is coming together? Like, if you see these stages that are happening, like, type I see it into the chat, because I want you to understand that this is how a narcissist operates as much as possible to be able to flip the script. Okay? The narcissist has to flip the script from abuser to victim. Like, he has to change this in his mind. And so when you think of this, a lot of times when the narcissist is doing this, he's going from abuser and he's switching it to victim. Now, when he's doing this, he has to be able to go into his mind and be like, wait a second, what I did wasn't that bad. So there's piece of like, I have to justify like what just happened. I have to be able to tell myself like, Nate, I had to do it. Like, this is something that she made me do. This is something I didn't have control over. So he's like, hey, from abuser to victim, I have to convince myself, I have to justify what I did. Okay, I have to actually be like, this happened for this reason. Now, oftentimes the narcissist is also like reasoning with himself. Like, you know, it wasn't that bad. Like, it really wasn't that big of a thing. And it's because of X, Y, and Z. It's because of how she treated me. It's because of the disrespect she gave me. Like, it has to be someone else's fault. This way, the narcissist is typically looking to, how do I actually blame someone else? How do I shift the blame onto someone else so that it's not my fault? And so really the abuser, the narcissist, is taking this and be like, hey, it's my fault. Let me figure out how I can blame it, project it, put it onto someone else so that they are the ones that are doing the things that I've done that are so toxic. So now I'm the victim. Now I'm the victim of her rejection because I cheated. Do you see how this happens? Like, he has to like switch it in his mind. Now, if you're noticing a correlation, it's almost like gaslighting because he has to believe it. Okay? Like, if a narcissist doesn't believe his lies, he falls apart. This is where you get a narcissistic collapse because he starts to realize, wait a second, he's actually full of shit. Like, he starts to realize, wait a second, the stuff that's inside, the things that I've been telling myself, that I'm a good person, that I'm faithful, that I'm loving, all these things, they're not actually true because they're not validated by anything. But the hard part is the narcissist starts to see this, they start to switch it in their mind. Let me justify, let me reason with myself, let me blame someone else so I don't have to be accountable or responsible for my actions. Have you seen some of this in your relationship? Like, have you seen this piece happen where you're going through and you reject him, right? Because you left him. So he's like, hey, you rejected me. He goes through this surprise, through begging, through love bombing, through anger, through victim, through smear mode, all because you left the narcissist. It has to be someone's fault and it can't be the narcissist. So he's going to keep blaming you over and over and over. If you feel like you're stuck in this and you're stuck in the blame, the guilt, the shame of being with a toxic person and all the shit that he's put on you, please reach out for help. Go to rawmotivations.com/breakthrough. Would love to help you move forward in your healing today.